Welcome, Annie Collins here for the Makers Movement. Today we'll be creating this Be Merry Christmas card. Let's go over the products I use. From the Makers Movement, we're going to use this 2-piece die set called Be Merry. It cuts out that sentiment, Be Merry. It has 2-piece die, but it cuts out all the letters individually. And it's a nice thin font, as you can see here. And I cut this out of Aspire Shimmer Wine Cardstock. And we'll also be using the Winter Foliage, and this is a 9-piece die set. And we'll be using the mistletoe and the leaves. This die set also cuts holly and berries, poinsettia, pine branches, and leaves. We'll be bringing in our Nuvo Drops in Simply White and an A2 top folding landscape card, and this is a 110-pound cardstock. Here's our mistletoe, which I cut out of Aspire in Celadon, and it's also a shimmery cardstock. And the leaves, if I can get it untangled from my bee here, the leaves I cut out of Pear, also from Aspire, and it's also a shimmery cardstock. So I'm going to layer these up. As you can see, the 2 shades of green, because if you look at mistletoe, it's a light or whitish, it's like a green, but it's a real pale green. Alright, so now for my stash, I have a 3x4 foil panel here, and I use some emerald foil to foil this panel, and I use some gold foil to foil our sentiment. And I die cut our sentiment using a stitch rectangle die. Alright, let's clear our desk and get started. First, I'm going to adhere our word Be Merry to our foil cardstock panel here. And I'm going to use the lines of our stripes here to basically line up our letters. And we're going to have a little overhang on the M and the R. No, the M and the Y. And, okay, I know how to spell Mary. Really, I do. The M and the Y, but that's okay because it'll still be within our card. So I'm going to start with the center R because it'll be the most centered, and then we can do each letter on either side. And if you'll notice, I'll get a little excess glue on my foil, but I'll show you how I clean that up in a moment. So I'm just using a little art glitter glue behind, little drops of art glitter glue behind each of our letters, and I'm using my tweezers here to help me place them down. And I'm moving as quickly as possible to get all my letters in place. And as you can see, as I start shifting it, I get some little bit of clear glue smears on that panel. So got the other R going down, and then our Y. And then it'll be easy to center the B over this. So I'm going to try to center my E between those 2 R's and then our B. And I get my B really crooked, so it takes me a few seconds to get that straightened out. Alright, so now you see I have those little glue smears. All I'm going to do is take a paper towel that I just damp. It's just barely damp. And I'm just going to wipe it as quickly as possible, holding the letters so that they don't shift. And if you do this before your glue sets all the way, you can get all the excess glue wiped off your foil. You can do this with any shimmery paper. Just make sure the paper towel is barely damp. You don't want it saturated because then that'll warp your paper. Alright, so now I'm going to fuss a little bit to get the placement of my leaves here for my mistletoe. Once I get it where I want it, I'm going to adhere it. Then I realized I wanted to pop up this Be Merry panel, so I gently pull it out from under the leaves, and I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back. This is a low profile foam adhesive, so it'll just give me a little bit of dimension. I'm not looking for it to be, really raised off the card base. So I'm going to get this on here, remove all the backing, and then I'll place my sentiment panel back onto our card. And as you can see, I'm just going to tuck it so that the leaves are just on top of my panel. Try to get it as straight on there as possible. And then I'll press the leaves down. Now I'm going to adhere the little mistletoe. I'm just putting little drops of glue, and I'm just going to tuck this just behind my Y. I want the branch or the stem to go behind the Y and the panel. I'm going to go ahead and tuck the bottom leaves. And I don't want the leaves to go on top because I just want the mistletoe to go on top on the bottom portion here. And you'll see I'll fuss with it a little bit until I get it just where I want it. And I'll have to bend this just a bit so that it stays all within my card. And I'll cut off any excess overhang if I need to place it into my envelope. Okay, so now again I'm going to use my barely damp paper towel to clean off any excess glue. And then I realized I didn't glue certain parts, or they didn't adhere very well. So I'm going to go ahead and press it some more. This is shimmery cardstock, so it takes a little bit more time to adhere. And then I'm also adhering it to foil paper. Alright, so now once I clean everything off, I'm going to bring in some Nuvo drops in Simply White and our inside sentiment, which is a foiled sentiment which reads, Christmas, it is a great time to remember those who are dear to us, because you bring love and happiness into our lives. We wish you a happy holiday season. So now you could leave it like this, but I wanted to accentuate the mistletoe berries, which are, like I said, they're white berries. So I'm going to go ahead and use our Nuvo in crystal drops in Simply White. I'm just putting little droplets on the berry section just to accentuate them. And do this to all of them. And this is the only accenting I'm going to do to this card. I feel with all the shimmery paper and the foil paper, we have enough on here. And just this little touch right here, I think is just enough. So I'm going to just tap the back of my card to get my drops to settle so I don't have any peaks on them. And now our card is complete. You have all this beautiful shimmer from all the paper and the foiled background. Those letters are just perfect because they're nice and thin. So we used the Maker's Movement Be Merry dies and the Winter Foliage dies. We use, like I said, the mistletoe and leaves, but this set has holly and berries, and it has the leaves and the petals to create a poinsettia. To cut all those images out, I used my mini maker from the Maker's Movement. Thank you so much, and I hope you found some inspiration.